the Chrome Dome himself, Joe Rogan, has announced that he is going exclusively to Spotify. And he's taking its sounds exclusively to Spotify, the music app. It's interesting because Spotify has been making these podcast plays. We've talked about this a little bit on our music industry shit type episodes of Audioface. But Spotify as a company has been acquiring podcast creation platforms like Anchor. It's like a really like dumbass easy, download an iPhone app, you have a podcast way of doing podcasts. To networks like Gimlet and The Ringers, where Bill Simmons is. So they've been making plays in podcast creation and also just like podcast content and networks.
Yes.
And so they just want people to use their app for podcasts, which will be great because if that happens, Spotify can then track your podcast listening data and do a number of things with them. Recommend you new podcasts, and obviously do all the things social networks do when they can know what information you have, which is ultimately sell that information to advertisers. And speaking of advertisers, one thing they may do, but it isn't completely clear, is whether or not they'll double dip in revenue, because a lot of people, so to listen to Spotify, listen to Joe Rogan.
Right.
He usually right now has a YouTube show and a podcast you can listen to everywhere. Coming soon, you'll only be able to listen to the podcast on Spotify, and then the videos will exclusively only be on Spotify.
And then the only thing that'll not be on Spotify is he's still going to do a clip thingy.
Yeah, he'll have clips on YouTube.
That's it.
Yeah. And the exclusivity of that, of getting people just to like use Spotify only, by the way, he's getting paid a cool $100 million plus for this.
Fuck, dude.
God
damn.
$100 million.
That's footballer money, dude. That's ridiculous.
Just like for him and Jamie to smoke weed and talk to a camera, $100 million. But yeah, they're making all these plays so that they can be a hub for your ears. So that includes music and that includes podcasting. But it might double dip in the sense that, so you'll be able to listen to this podcast as a Spotify free subscriber. But if you're Spotify premium, the Joe Rogan Experience and many of the podcasts that are on Spotify are also going to have ads inserted into them. So even if you're a Spotify premium subscriber, you might still encounter ads in podcasts. You kind of do now, but that's just because the ads are embedded into a file itself, so the ads would appear on the podcast app.
Yeah. It's like,
And usually they're like live reads where the person is reading them live, and it's like directly sponsoring the product they're doing.
Like RT Podcast says that, so you can't get around it.
Yeah. But if Spotify inserts them themselves, A, Spotify come through with that paper, and B, what control does Spotify get over that? And it's another good thing for Spotify to get podcasts on their platform because Spotify has to pay the record labels a lot of money for royalties, and Spotify has to pay podcast platformers dick.
Exactly. So that's one thing that's what I wanted to get into for the musicality of it is now they should be able to get, if they get more traction and stuff over this time and whatnot, because he has such a giant following, but then they start getting other people onto their podcast platform and whatnot, and they get more audiences and more subscribers, whatever, to Spotify. That's good for artists, I'm hoping, to where they could hopefully get more and then get into the platform a little bit easier and stuff, especially those smaller artists.
Hot take, this is great for us.
Hot take. Please. If they start starting ads, let's go, baby.
No, but uniquely this is great for us because we have leveraged a lot of our podcast distribution onto Spotify, and we have pretty good numbers, probably the best numbers of any individual platform, maybe even better than Apple Podcast is on Spotify. And if Spotify is going to try to be a tastemaker between what podcast people should listen to and what music people should listen to, and then being a music podcast might be a really uniquely good business
Next
decision.
thing you know, I'm rolling up into the crib with the electric blue NSX. Getting that sweet Spotify money.
Yeah. If Daniel Eck, please pay no attention to the Kendrick Lamar episode of Audioface, but if you would at all like to kick over $50 million to Audioface.
And get a whole studio, man. We can interview artists. We can roast Lana Del Rey on the spot.
Imagine like Joe Biden's thing on The Breakfast Club, but it's us and Lana Del Rey.
That's the last episode of Audioface. I hope I know. I'm canceling myself if that happens because I'm gonna wild out.
No, that would be like you and Ariana Grande. Like,
That's
I'd
not
have-
allowed.
like, I'd
That's
have
not.
to- I'd have to sit
That's
in
not
the
allowed.
middle.
That's not allowed.
I'd have to sit in the middle. And then
You'd
just
have
like,
to social distance like 15 feet apart. Like that's not allowed.
No, it's like Sean checks notes in traffic and will be unable to be at this episode.
I am stuck on the 10.
No, it's like you name one that easy to get through freeways. Like he's stuck on the 60.
I'm stuck on the 22 coming. Wait, what? There's no traffic. He's stuck on the 22. Meanwhile, I'm just chilling at home eating Cheetos in bed.
He is stuck in traffic on the open road and oh my god.